I mean, it's quite early in Mexico, right?
Yes, I think we are now live.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, okay, I'm gonna make a quick introduction in Spanish. Hola, mi nombre es Jimena Ríos, soy de Girls at Films y hoy vamos a tener el conversatorio con Sandra Wollner y su película The Trouble with Being Born, que es una coproducción Alemania-Austria. Y tenemos tiempo para hacer para que nos hagan preguntas y pueda Sandra contestarlas. Así que vamos a empezar. Este conversatorio se va a hacer en inglés, pero estamos al pendiente. Okay, so hi.
Hi.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, thank you, and sorry for the inconvenience. But now I'm happy that we now can do it.
No, of course. It's great to have you. Well, I'd like to start by asking what made you decide to take on this story, and in particular, and how did you decide it would be a sci-fi film?
Well, it's my graduation film at the school where I studied, and it's my second feature film. And the initial idea actually came from my co-author, Roderick Warich, because I was writing something different, where I always tried to step out of a human perspective, but in a way it did not work because there were too many humans involved. And he actually came up with the idea about this setting of this android child. And I immediately jumped onto that because I finally thought, oh, that's the vessel I'm searching for and that I was interested in. And we developed it together, and quite early I realized that I'm more interested in not the usual narrative you usually have talking about AI, like either they want to become human or they want to rule the world. You know, I was more interested in this specific AI more as an object, more as Pinocchio, the piece of wood that does not want anything. It just wants what it's programmed to want. And yeah, and therefore the idea was born. And also quite early, I realized it's going to be a continuation of my last film, which was staged in the 50s and dealt with what memories are and what is the difference to imaginations. And so I figured quite early that I'm more interested in this vessel of an AI to talk about memories, identity, and loss more than about an actual artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And so it became kind of a more a fairy tale, like a dark fairy tale, more than an actual AI.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting the way you use Ellie, which is the robot girl, as a vehicle to tell the story of your other characters, which I believe it's very intentional. And but talking about the development of these characters, how did you decide to use a little girl, you know, to decide on these two stories, which is a very old woman who has lost somebody many years ago, and this person who we do not know for sure if he's if he's the father of a girl or he's just well, a pedophile. So how did you decide that it would be those two stories and how Ellie would play on these stories?
I mean, as I said, I was very much intrigued by the idea of this object that does not care about those memories, which are important for its owners, but that does not care about what it is programmed to want. And therefore, I mean, I think for example, the old lady, Frau Shikova, Miss Shikova, I developed it organically. It just was there at one point, and I realized, oh, I have to in a way divide this film in those two crass, very different stories, to really get to the point where we can see that this robot android can switch gender, can switch identities, can be everything their owner wants it to be. And yeah, and therefore I decided for those two stories, one with a very dark dynamic where this man wants something out of this doll that he, which he could never live, of course, with anyone else, and this old lady who recreates her long lost brother. And yeah, so that really was the core of it, to see with repetitions also that come in the film, like things where you have parameters that are the same for the robot, like darkness, thunder, lying in bed, everything of that. And the program starts, but for us as audience, it's something completely different, and that's what I was interested to figure out.
Yeah. And how did you decide how to compose this atmosphere? Because I think it resembles a lot. You talk a lot about memory, and well, memory makes me think about dreams as well. So how was those formal decisions to make to create this atmosphere, which would be very similar to dreams and to to memory?
I mean, in a way, I always thought about this film as being a film told entirely out of a perspective of this android, which would be like a weird dream, like, okay, what would androids dream of? You know, the old question we won't be able to answer for some time, obviously. Yeah. But so I always was interested in searching this entity that kind of is virtual and creates the world around it, but also on the same point is the world at the same time. And this finding out that it's more about this android dream, or a dark dream of a human projected to an android, that was basically the formal idea.
Okay. And well, I want to get rid of that subject, but were you concerned about what the movie would? I mean, if there's a lot of censorship right now, and you're using a 10-year-old, even though we know very early on the movie that she's an android, were you concerned about censorship?
Not really, because I actually never thought that we are going to leave the bubble of festivals. And I have the feeling that within film festivals, there is still the how do you say, also the purpose of film festivals is in a way to discuss those things and those images we have, or things we depict. So yeah, I was not so concerned until it happened in Australia to us at the Melbourne Film Festival, who pulled the film again. For the main reason was because it was an online film festival and they got scared, even though they chose the film in the very beginning, which I found a little, where I encountered that for the first time. But I mean, I do think that there is a place for films that raise those questions, and that are there to kind of really show also the abyss of humankind, and not just the good. It's, of course, it's also important to show the best humans can bring out, but also those questions that are more ambivalent, more ambiguous. And I was not so concerned about shooting this film with a girl. I mean, as concerned as you're with every film working with a child actor, and you should be, because every film is in a way an immense how do you say, experience for a kid. But I never was afraid that that we would bring her in some kind of danger, because everything you see, of course she knew what it's about, but of course we talked about that in a child appropriate way and not in the way how the movie talks about it. But
Yes.
everything you see, everything of this sexual content that is in there was created afterwards. There was nothing on set, of course. I mean, yeah, nobody ran around naked. You did not see anyone naked. Yeah, so in a way of how you always question yourself, can I shoot a film, any film with a kid? So you have to do a safety measurement and you have to protect children. But I never was concerned about that, because yeah, she's a very smart kid. We were very lucky to find her and her family, which is a really great, loving family. And she knows about the, let's say, because this pedophilia theme always comes up, that there is a danger in this world out there, and that this is obviously not the thing that we want to show, which we got accused for to be a pro-pedophilia film, which I really cannot understand. But yeah. So yeah, I think the usual concerns, and in a way, if you deal with them, then you can work with that, and yeah, don't bring any trauma to anyone. I mean, I always say, okay, I would like to, maybe I can shock my audience, but I would never allow that to happen to my actors, you know, and especially not the child actors. So yeah.
Of course.
But I mean, also aware it's going to be a subject that is able to narrow it down to a clickbait headline. And
yeah.
But then again, you know, people who judge it are mostly people who have not seen the film and who probably would have never seen the film because it's too artsy-fartsy in that term.
Yeah, and I think it happens a lot right now, you know. Well, now talking about other things in the film, I was very drawn to this idea of like family dynamics, because I was thinking about this scene where the second story starts playing, where the son takes Ellie, which he found on the highway, and he takes it to his mom. And I found it like kind of you know, here is an android, so you can be, I don't know, like accompanied. So I was thinking about family dynamics, because in the world of the film, it looks like everybody's so solitary. So I was wondering, what are your thoughts on how we use technology as a way of not being so alone?
Yeah, you mean in real life, you know? I mean, we are showing a dystopia, of course. In real life, of course, I don't think that technology is per se the in humankind itself, but it does not develop through technology. I don't think that this is the cause why people are alone or solid. And of course, the main idea of the whole internet was in the beginning to communicate, and people who were on several spots of the world to communicate with each other. I do think it's both, and it always can just be both. It's whether technology brings out the best or the worst in us. I always have the feeling it's just right now a mirror of what we are and where we individually are at what specific place. So yeah, I don't think personally so negative about technology. Like I do have the feeling that there is a chance that might one day an AI will create a pattern of thinking that is not human, and which would be really interesting, you know, to step out of this perspective and look back at us humans from a real outer space kind of viewpoint.
And also I guess like using technology to to deposit our memories, which I don't know. I think I'm very conflicted, I guess, with all of it, because memories are so inaccurate. So sometimes it seems like we are looking for the way to relive those memories through our technology, which I believe it's kind of what Ellie does for these characters, right?
Yeah.
She's working as a as this person that is stuck in time, in a specific time frame, that is, well, she's replaying those memories that maybe are very inaccurate memories to these two people, and then she I don't know, the programming, she gets mixed with this programming, and they are, and we're not very sure she's there or on the other place, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's very, I think it's what happens with us right now. So how do you, well, yeah, how do you take on this very thin line between what's natural and what's artificial? Because, you know, memories sometimes are artificial.
Yeah, I mean, we never can be sure in a way in individual memories. How, not talking about a collective memory. I think there, you know, but individual memories. What is real? What is truth about that? And what is like a trauma coming up would be another picture than what actually was there. So maybe even in an invented memory is another truth that we only find out later, you know, or find out afterwards. I do believe, but I do believe that this is something we always did, like in a way, thinking about family photo albums, you know. You get the canon of the history, of the family history, which are the same pictures forever that are there. And you have to connect the dots in between, which you immediately do, because you see those pictures, you hear the stories about the funny uncle or about the grandfather in war, about, you know, all those, whatever it is. But of course, what we never, and what is lost for always, are the spaces in between, the empty spaces where there is no picture about it. And we, as I think humans, tend to search for a narration and tend to search for a narrative in everything, fictionalize basically the whole world. Otherwise, it would be complete chaos.
Yeah.
So I think we always do that. And the Android, basically, or anything, any avatar, anything we can fill up with our memories, does the same, but does it in a much faster way and then in a way we cannot control. And I think this is the unsettling part, probably. I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is. um, there is kind of a disruption on the line of the story, where there's this scene that the real Ellie appears, I guess, and well, yeah, it's how are you planning on that, on that character to show up? Like, was she kind of I don't know, like a disruption on the life of this man who has a, you know, an android working for him, for for his needs?
Yeah.
So
I mean, you know, I'm open for your interpretation as well in this case. So I don't want to, I mean, I held it in this how do you say, in this vague thing of, is it a dream or is it not, or is it real? What is it now? For this specific reason, to be unsecure about the whole narration, to be never sure as an audience, also to see, okay, what is it? What is it? To always feel this kind of, okay, the narration can just break down because it's basically like a program. So I always thought of her as a ghost, but I don't know whether it's a ghost coming out of the android or whether it's a ghost coming out of this person, and whether it really makes a difference. Because if you look at the whole film being the perspective and the dream of an android talking from an eternal point of time where everything might have already happened or everything will happen, it does not really make a difference. So I always thought about the virtuality of our own reality. That was the core to hold the whole film and the whole narration. So what's the word? Unstable, like
unstable.
Unstable, exactly. To really not be sure to see the meanings, but also the chaos behind it. And I always thought of her as a ghost, not during the writing process. During the writing process, I still thought that she's a real girl, and she was for quite some time a real girl coming there. But then I figured out in this process of the whole film that she actually was a ghost from the very beginning. I just didn't, it sounds so esoterical if you said, but I just didn't see it in the beginning.
And you talk about the process of writing the script. How does it work, your process of writing it and also co-writing it? Because
I mean, as I said, this idea came from my co-author, basically the setting, the child android and the man, and then I jumped on it, and then we were talking about it, and he knew my last film, of course, and then I started to write, and I immediately crossed the themes again that I still had the feeling I was not finished with, memory and what we were already saying, loss. And then I think it was actually like that. So I would get up and write in the morning and listen to a lot of like Atmos or William Basinski's Disintegration Loop, which I think you can see in the film, the whole movement. And then Roderick and me would walk for hours through the outskirts of Berlin. Go, talk. And then I would go home again and sit down and write, and he would send me videos or music that he associated with, and then we talked again. So this was the process. And the first draft we wrote was from the core very close to the film that it is now, even though there were several other narratives in there. The second one was a little more narrative because, I mean, at one point you're going to get to the fundings, you need the money, you know, it kind of influences the formal aspect of the script, because you have to have the usual script, give it there, and then you might get the money. And then we shot, and then there was room for some surprises and for some, oh, but now we go there and let's figure out something. But considering that we shot with a little girl who wore this silicone mask, which did not resemble her at all, it took quite a while to put it up. It took quite a while to put it down. So the usual things you have during shooting a film, the process of, oh, time is ticking and you need to find the core. This film really came together in the editing, because everything happened in quite short time for what it was. And in the editing, I had the feeling, wow, now I can finally breathe and can get back to the core that was there in the very beginning. That was something I could not even verbalize, you know. I mean, starting with a film and starting, as we all know, it's like you have an idea, which is something, maybe not even an image yet, but something you just feel and you write it down. And already in this process, you win something, but you lose something. And this goes the whole process long until then everything comes together. Or sharpen the whole core. So that's basically the story of how this film came to life.
That's great. Well, now that we're talking about formal decisions, how did it play to come to the final sound design? Because I think it's very important for the film to create this this atmosphere of.
I'm sorry, you were gone for a second, but I think you're talking about the sound design and the music.
Yes, about the sound design.
Yeah. I work together with a friend, Peter Kutin. He's a musician and also an audio artist, and I wanted to work for him for quite some time because I really find the metaphysical things I'm searching in his music. And so we talked quite early already in the writing process. How would this robot sound like? What would he hear? How would the voice sound like? And I mean, in the end, it was always during the writing process, I had the feeling of this film behind the film, which is this shimmering dark chaos outside of the world that we can see. And we always tried, also with my cameraman, Tim Kröger, visualize that. But I have the feeling that only through the sound you really can see that chaos. You know, you can really see the void behind those pictures. And this was something we were working on. In the beginning, I thought for a long time that maybe the voice will sound more artificial, but then decided that I wanted to be very, very human. I mean, this is something state of the art, you know, as you can, with deep voice, you can generate, as you know, voices that sound completely like someone else. And so, yeah, therefore I also chose to go with a very natural voice then.
Yeah. And were there any challenges when you, because the actress is wearing a mask, so were there any challenges to show, to make the acting, you know, the expressions and all of it, to make it portray what you wanted?
I mean, the real challenge with the mask specifically was that we had a great team of makeup artists, Gabi Grünwald and her team. I mean, they did an amazing job. And but the problem was that you could not show this mask from every angle, like for real, and not in every light. So also there was little time. I mean, we had money considering it's a graduation film. We had a lot of money considering it's a normal feature film. It would be the third of what a proper blah, 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 feature film would have. So of course there were some limits to that, you know. So we always had, in a way, to think about from where can we show her, and also the eyes, you know, everything need to be retouched in post-production, because you would always see the
edge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The edge between the mask and the skin. Even though it was really very good. So the problem was not so much that you would not see the expression, because you could see that it was not too thick, but thick enough to have this uncanny look. So they did a real good job. But more the limitation of how to work with something like that you still get the immersive feeling of, okay, it looks the same all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, limitations can be good for other things, you know. So
yeah, I think you did a great job. I'm gonna see if there's questions from the audience. Well, from the people.
Anyone already connected.
I don't know. It's not that early.
Okay, no, it's not. Yeah, but it's Saturday, right? I mean, it's Saturday morning.
Since we're talking about well, since there are very we're talking about our relationship we have with technology. I was thinking about the pandemics because I think we've been redefining our relationship to technology. How do you see I don't know, what's your take on this? Do you think, because it's like in your movie, right? They use it, she's an android, and she's very similar to the shape of a human, no? And so I think sometimes tech goes to expand the human experience, but sometimes it limits us somehow to have these connections, which was what we were talking about earlier. How do you think it's the pandemics redefining that relationship?
I mean, does it really? I don't know. Of course, I mean, everyone had only Zoom meetings, right? Or okay, let's not, or any other whatever digital meetings, which felt so weird in the beginning, like even to have conversations with complete strangers. I mean, that's something, okay, maybe you did that back then in chat roulette, but you know, who did that? So it's another way of communication, because usually having those meetings, if it's not a business meeting, you do have them with people you know. So
yeah,
in a way, like personally, I can say I got a little less scared of meetings like this because, you know, you have so many, and still, of course, it's not more, it just did not become more, what's the word, more livable than before. I don't know. I mean, there's still the limitation of the technique, that you cannot read the person really, that you know. But yeah, I mean, personally, I was in a pretty lucky space because the film was out. We still had the chance to premiere it at Berlinale, and in my little bubble where I was already writing the next film, or I already started to write the next film. I do have the feeling that writing sometimes is anyway a little like a pandemic, you know. I mean, a chosen one that gets not, no one forces to that. But yeah.
Let me check if there are.
If we can find someone online.
It says here, there's a question. Which filmmakers are the influence on your work? I think the film is wonderful in every sense of the word. Congrats.
Thank you. I do think that there are a lot of filmmakers who had an influence on my, like, also other films, but I guess, I mean, considering the first films that hit me as a teenager were definitely David Lynch. I mean, where you had the feeling of being in a dream for several hours and days afterwards, you know. That was something which had quite a big impact on me personally, but also as a filmmaker, to be able not just to follow a narration, but to be able to experience cinema as a real experience, as a real weird experience, where you have the feeling, oh, it kind of becomes part of myself, this image, because it pops up again like a weird, you know, like waking up in the morning or even in the afternoon, and suddenly you think about something and you're not sure what that was, but it was obviously from your dream last night. So that was something what influenced me. For this film specifically, there were, I do feel that my work is quite eclectic in a way. So maybe, yeah, I don't know if I believe in pure inspiration or whatever that means. But there, I think it were several films, like Jonathan Glazer's Under the Skin was a big inspiration. How he dealt with this alien walking through a natural world, what I really fell in love with. But also Bresson's O Hasa Balthasar, where you just follow this little donkey is the donkey, what's the word, you know, the easel, follow through the world and just looking through the eye of this animal at humankind, or at humans. Those were, I think, or Apichatpong Verasetakul's work, so. And the material, of course. Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
There's this one is a comment. It was at the same time very disquieting and very alluring for me, because I was surprised how, as the film progresses, I became more and more identified with the grown-ups. We tend to project everything onto the apparently black canvases that we consider our children to be today. A lesson for us who are raising a family. Congratulations on an impressive reflection of human condition.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to ask you about the title. Why the trouble of being born?
I mean, it's but there is this book by Emil Cioran, The Trouble with Being Born.
Yeah.
And I did not read it until Roderick, my co-author, and me came upon this track by One Six Point Never called The Trouble with Being Born. Yes. And I was very also intrigued by Emil Cioran's work, and yeah. So while reading it, I mean, it's an aphorism book, so you don't get the whole narration out of it. But reading it, I really had the feeling I could relate to those thoughts in a way. I found them not so much depressing as also funny, but true, funny in a way of, humor, maybe not funny like an easy joke, but you know what I mean. And I did have the feeling that what he's saying about, us birth being a laughable accident and nothing more, but still we as humans need to think that we are, what's the word? That we are so important for the ongoing of the world. I mean, I do understand it, because if we would not think that, I think we could not exist. We could not make any sense of our reality. And this paradoxon, I find so, it's something you cannot solve. So it's a funny or a dark sense nature, a dark humor nature, who chose to do that, or not chose. And definitely this is something the object does not have to deal with. So we as humans need our meanings. We need not just the meaning in life, but the meaning of a tree, that it looks like a tree and not like nothing else, but also we need this goal, and we need just the meaning to be there. And the object, it does not. That's why I found it quite the perfect fit to borrow this fantastic title and apply it to our film.
That was great. Well, I think there are no more questions here. This is the first time I have to make this and check questions. I don't know how it works, really, but
that's also good. I mean, technology also brings us to these awkward moments.
Yeah, completely awkward moments. Well, I think we're about to end, but I would you mentioned a lot loss, which I believe is one of the themes you're very keen on. I believe on your previous film, and also in this one, there's a very obvious element of loss. So how do you take on this loss, on how humans grieve, and how we use technology to grief?
Wow, yeah, that's interesting because okay, how we grieve, I mean, not even about losing someone else, but there is always this loss in our life because we know it's going to end, you know. I mean, being aware of that life is something that will end is a loss per se. How we use technology for that. I mean, how, yeah, of course, how do we keep things, not even technology, let's say also photos, start with photos, start with drawings, start with everything that kind of tries to be there for eternity. From the point on where we photographed someone, we wanted it to be there forever, or at least for as long as we live. So drawings, photographs, whatever, they have a date where they probably will, what's the word, decay, where they will and now we have another technology which might be there for real eternal time, you know. And this is something which is, yeah, it's very weird, you know. I mean, it's the concept of eternity, which only is there basically in, maybe let's say in space and in religion, is now how do you say, brought down to earth in a way, and is brought down to our little communication what's the word, machines, things, laptops, whatever. So we now have the heaven or hell is the cloud basically. So yeah, I find it interesting, but to really say something about it, I think we need a little more time with this new, not new, but yeah, with the thought of eternity.
Yeah. Well, very existential questions.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, you know. I cannot answer them. I try for all. We as filmmakers, I mean, you know, you're working for quite some time to what, actually, to answer your own questions in a way you have, or to just have a fraction between the things you find interesting. Because if you could put it down in a sentence, if I could put it down in a sentence, I probably would have written an unmistakably sentence or essay about it, and not made like a film with so many meta layers.
I think there's one more question. What was the process with the music of the film? I think we kind of talked about it already. I don't know if you would like to answer.
So, well, the process was, as I said before, that I really wanted to work with Peter Kutin, who is a great musician and also audio artist, and with a composer, David Schweikart, who wrote all the other pieces except for two, who were originals. And as I said before, the whole Versuch, the whole trial was to really get this film behind the film, to make it visible through this music, this noise, this chaos behind this creative world. That was the main intention, to do so.
Thank you. Thank you for answering the question.
Of course. Thank you for asking.
I think there are no more questions. Yeah, there are no more questions. Well, I think those are the questions I wanted to ask you, and this was a very rewarding conversation with you. So just to wrap up, what's your next project? Do you have anything in mind? What are the topics you would like to explore?
It's yeah, I don't know yet. I cannot put it into words. As you can see, it took me 3 years to make the last one. But
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of the writing process, and it's again about a ghost, and it's again about loss. But I think in a more down to earth, real way. Or maybe I'm gonna make a comedy. Let's see. Maybe
that would be that would be interesting to see how it plays out. Let me see what is. Yeah, there are no more questions, I guess.
Everything answered. Great.
Yes.
Well then.
I think we are. Where is that? Thank you so much for taking this time and answering our questions about your film. We really hope we get to see some more of your work really soon.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and also for screening the film. Of course, I'm very happy. It's a pity that, of course, that everyone thinks the same. That one cannot be there for real in the same.
Yeah, of course.
And have this conversation. But this is like a sentence that's said so many times this year. So
Yeah.
Grow out of.
And we still don't know until when we're gonna say it.
Well,
okay, so no, thank you. So
well then, have a nice Saturday.
You too. Have fun.
Bye bye.
Bye.